yesterday, first of all, how to understand the region, explain and communicate scientific knowledge. And we have learned what the difference between positivist and interpretivist. And so I am positivist, but I said it's important for positivist researchers to read the interpretivist research to get research idea as well as find the logic for their hypothesis. And there's a difference between the variance in process theories, and most of us doing the statistical analysis are doing the variance theory. And so we have learned the concept of intersubjectivity, and then what is the role of a research method to gain the intersubjectivity, which is very important concept. And we have learned what is the difference between quantitative and qualitative research. And we have learned the process of the research, because when we talk about the research methodology, and people usually think about the data gathering and data collections and analysis, but it's not that. It's a more comprehensive term, which include the setting up the research questions and try to find the conceptual framework and the model, and then design the research and find the data, and then analyze it, make a generalization of the findings. That's a process of the research. So we learned some terminology, what is the variables, independent, and covariation, manipulation, and construct, and the level of measurement. And I briefly covered them and what are the difference of those. And experimental design. So it was the essence of what we have learned yesterday. I introduced those different experimental design, and then many of us students who actually did the research using the archival data and time series data, the data that were stored in the different time frame, and they're basically doing quasi-experimental design. That is not actually the experiment, but it looks like experiment comparing different setting and different time frame and so on, and different between the lab and field experiment. And so finally, I have shown some of the research paper and read through, not very in detail, but I have introduced different papers that uses those research methods, especially focusing on the experimental design. Okay, so that was what we did yesterday, and hopefully that was a little bit helpful. So of course it's a lot of pages and a lot of content, so if you have any questions, please send me email. You can use any language, Korean and English, and so I'll try my best to answer them. Okay, so today we will be talking about the quantitative research, focusing on the survey. Yesterday we have focused on experiment, and now we'll be talking about the survey research. And survey is a mostly widely used data collection method in social science. It can be used for both quantitative and qualitative. So people very often think that the survey is a quantitative research, but not actually that, because sometimes we could use open-ended question with the long sentences to collect the data set. And then that's a qualitative research, okay? So I have seen recently some research add some more open-ended questions to let the survey respondent to type of what they feel about those things, and then they actually do text analytics and the sentiment analysis, actually use that to run and code it into the numerical data and then do quantitative research. That's one way to do that. And maybe sometimes when you do your survey design, and maybe probably you can ask a question about what do you feel about, what do you want to say about certain things, and that you can actually measure your emotions and sentiment about that particular thing, and that might be good data set that can triangulate means the validate your the findings, your findings. Okay. Survey research is started with questionnaire construction and measurement properties. And you will have to define what is the target population. So why this target population is good and appropriate to answer my research question, that's a very important question that you will have to ask yourself. and then you will have to tell and explain about the sampling. You will have to administer the survey, and either cross-sectional, you could do it in longitudinal, and we will be doing the lab focusing on using online survey tool called the Qualtrics. I'd like to ask you before I start, what tool, if you have ever used a survey, and probably most of you have done online survey, and what tool have you used? Can you type the tool that you have used? I know there is a Google form, and then there are other things, and maybe we have a Survey Monkey, but those who have done the survey, so could you let me know by typing on the chatting box and what tool you have used? Google Forms, yes. Wen Zuan Sing, is it one of the tool? Okay. Anyone else? Okay, mostly Google Form. Google Form is good tool. Okay, so probably if you have paid account, it's a pretty good tool, very similar to what the Qualtrics does. But Qualtrics is also pretty similar, and that does a lot of the different things with the survey. Okay, that's good. And so we will be talking a little bit about data cleansing, but sometimes that probably we're not going to do it in the lab, but maybe data cleansing and coding, sometimes there's no sort of easy way to do it, and you need a good Excel skill at the end of the day, and then you will have to learn the data analysis, and that we will be doing in day 4 with PLS. Okay, so what are the topics? So we'll be covering very quickly those indicators and contents and type of questions, question format and sequence, and how to avoid a bias. What are the bias? And I have brought in introductory document and consent form that you could use it to modify them, and that's Word files, and that's published for you in the Dropbox. And I will be talking a little bit about the measurement errors, and I'll be talking a little bit about conceptual part of the measurement properties, while we will be discussing how to describe and find out those measurement properties from the PLS analysis, okay, in day 4, all right? So indicators. So indicators are terms used to refer to concepts. So indicators usually are interchangeably used as survey items. Excuse me. And has to be grounded both theory and observation, and usually those indicators are specified by operational definitions. So operational definition usually are kind of the explaining what are the measurement of that particular construct or that particular variable.